Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Web Developer Corner. Today we have Glenn with us, who is a developer here at iThemes, and we're just going to get to know him and see kind of how he got started and learn a little bit more about him. So, Glenn, how are you doing?
Doing well.
Good, good,
Sitting at a coffee shop, so maybe we'll have some people visit us.
good. No, that's one of the things I want to talk to you about is working remote. We'll get in that a little bit later, but first, you tell us a little bit about yourself and your 10 kids and
Yeah, I live in Wake Forest, North Carolina, which is about 10, 15 minutes north of Raleigh. Been here since 2002 when I came up here to go to graduate school. Grew up in Florida. I met my wife there. We have 5 kids, which is not 10, but feels like 10 at times. So yeah, that's me. Been working at iThemes for 6.5 years.
fun time.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, what is your favorite thing about being a father?
I like watching them. I mean, besides, like roughhousing with them,
Hmm.
making them laugh and stuff. I like watching them grow. I like watching them learn things and how the light bulbs go off in their eyes. It's always fun to see them. Whether, we got like a 3-month-old baby and he's obviously learning things all the time. We also have a 12-year-old girl. She just entered middle school and she is also learning things all the time. So it's just cool to see them learn and
Oh,
develop a desire to learn.
I bet middle school is crazy.
Yeah, we're going to at some point have 3 girls in middle school at the same time. It's
Oh
going to
wow.
be a little chaotic.
No, one thing obviously besides the fact that you have 5 children to prove it, when you were here at the ICU retreat, I think you spent more time playing with other people's kids in the backyard than you did actually with the adults, just because you're like, oh, this is
Hmm.
where I'd rather be playing roughhousing and playing with the
Yeah.
toys.
Well, you guys don't like me, and your kids are pretty accepting of me. So, yeah,
They're a lot more accepting. They haven't. Um,
they don't have to deal with me on a daily basis.
um, well, so how did you get started in WordPress or development in general?
Uh, let's see. You want the short story? So, as I
Short or
mentioned, I
long, either
came up
one.
here for graduate school. This was in 2002, and I found myself in a philosophy class, and I was sinking pretty hard, and so were most of my classmates. And so I went to see like there's got to be some way we could like collaborate on this. And this was before the days of people having like Blackboard or Moodle or whatever with their universities.
Hmm.
And I went out and I actually think it was Moodle that I eventually landed on. But I just YouTube and Googled for how to get this started. I leaned on a couple of friends I knew from college. I started this site. We all started like uploading our notes to it and all kinds of stuff. And one day I'm leaving the class. And the class probably had like 50 people in it. Professor comes up, Mr. Ramsey, I need you to come by my office later. And I went by his office, and he's like, "I heard you do web development. You made that class site for the class." I was like, "Yeah, that was me. How much would it cost to get a website made for me?" And not like the money guys just kind of go, I'm like, "Wow, I don't know, $400." And it probably took me the longest it's ever taken me to create a website, and I probably made as little money as I've ever made on a website through that experience. But I was hooked after that. I worked at that institution in their IT department, so there wasn't just doing desktop support. So I just spent my whole time when I wasn't out changing printer cartridges, reading PHP, MySQL books, WordPress books, and following tutorials online. Pretty much taught myself. So yeah, I was actually there for a master's in divinity, and
Really?
came away with technology.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you change your major, or did you finish it?
No, I finished. Yeah, I
Yeah.
I still have a master's of divinity, and I'm licensed to ministry. But here I am. I'm in web development.
Um, did you ever take any class, like while you were there, did you take any classes on like computer science classes or anything, or is it just all self-taught?
Nope, I've never had a computer science class in my life. Before iThemes, I worked at NC State for a couple of years, and I actually wound up in charge of their um, Moodle, all their distance learning software. And it was funny because I was surrounded by people with like computer degrees, and I had no clue what they were talking about half the time, but still made
Google
it.
was around, so
Yeah, Google was around by then. So
um, yeah, it was crazy. So it's not that long ago, and then like by the time I think I was going to school, Moodle was just like a common thing.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
normal, and
Well,
it's just
yeah, and I think honestly, that's probably one thing that I would say. Like I wound up getting introduced to Moodle because of like a real need that I had. I was failing a class and I needed my classmates' notes.
yeah.
So I went and found a way to do that. And 5, 6 years later, I got a really well paid job at a really well respected institution, largely because of my experience with Moodle. And so I think if you're looking to get into web development, don't look for the money at first. Look for what will interest you and keep you hooked.
I think that's great advice. I know. Um, I think it was Zuckerberg, and he said him and his sister both were coding, and they were solving problems that they had and filling their own needs, and that's how they got started in it. Which I think is if you're the type of person that do that, that shows that you already have the curiosity and the desire to fix problems
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
needed. So for someone like you didn't have to go to have someone hold your hand the whole time during the development process. You just figured out how to do it.
and that made
Uh,
it frustrating in the beginning. There were lots of holes
yeah.
in my knowledge, but you just fill them up as you come to them.
Hmm.
Now, 17, 15 years later, I don't run into as many holes. They're still there occasionally.
Hmm. Um, how long did it take for the actual development to like kind of click for you?
Um, I don't know. I remember, I think the ultimate test, I remember one time I'd been coding for like 15, 20 minutes on something and like programming, not like HTML. And I went and I tested it and it all worked without any like PHP errors. I hadn't had to go and Google anything. I was like, man,
I
I'm
bet that felt
starting to get
good.
it. Yeah, yeah. Like this is
I bet that
starting to
felt
actually work. Yeah. There's probably a lot like learning a new language. I mean, it's exactly like that. But like at some point, like you never feel like you're fluent, but at some point you realize, oh, I understand everything that just happened, and I didn't have to go ask anyone to interpret it for
That's really cool. Are you fluent in Italian yet?
me. Not yet. I can understand mostly everything I hear. I probably sound like a 2-year-old when
It's better than most people.
I
Uh,
talk.
what else? What else do you do, like in your personal life, besides you know, dad,
Besides raise
husband,
kids. Yeah.
besides raise kids and learn Italian? Like, aren't you a long distance runner?
Uh, no, I do enjoy running, but I haven't run in about a year. So I my knees started bothering me. So I
Because you're so old.
yeah. So about the same time the gray started coming in the
Yeah.
beard.
At
Yeah,
least you still have your
the
hair.
gray started coming in, so I went to shave it, and I found like an extra chin underneath. So I was like, we'll just stick with the gray. But
uh,
yeah, I do a lot of fishing, kayaking. Um, Stay really busy with the kids. Pretty active at my church. Do a lot of stuff there. So uh, yeah, a lot of family and outdoors. And we're in that age where the kids are starting to experiment with different sports and activities like that. So there's always something to do.
My daughter doesn't like running, so I'm not sure if we tried
Yeah.
soccer, and then she's like, you know what, the running, I don't like it.
Yeah. No, I got two girls that are all about the ballet, and the other one's all about the sports.
That's cool. Yes, there's sometimes I wish we had another little one running around that one, just to see
Yeah.
how we can screw that one up.
Yeah. It's funny how differently their personalities, they all come from the same people, but definitely not the same people.
Yeah. No, I think that's cool. Like, I think a problem that a lot of us get into is not having an outside life outside of work to distract us and
Yeah.
re-energize us and give us the energy we need for the rest of the because you do a lot of hard stuff here, a lot of complicated things here that if you didn't get away from, I'm sure you'd be hitting
Yeah.
those brick walls more.
When I first got started, I had a friend that had been doing it for a while, and he said the best advice he'd ever been given to him, and this might be a quote from like one of the founding fathers or somebody old and dead, but it's like if you work with your head, play with your hands. If you work with your
Okay,
hands,
yeah,
play with your head.
yeah,
So that's why I try to get outside a lot, try to do things that cause physical
yeah.
exhaustion because I walk away from the computer mentally exhausted. I feel like I've sucked my head out of the screen
Hmm.
at the end of the day.
Um, So another challenge that you have is working remote. Can you kind of go over like what kind of challenge is it challenging for you, or is it
It's different kind of challenging, different times. I really like it. I really like the flexibility of not being tied to an office. I do miss the camaraderie that goes along with that, but I don't I don't like ruts. So like I the way I usually do it is I work like half a day out of the office, and I don't get like a co-working place or anything because I don't want to be tied to it any more
Mhm.
than I want to be tied to an office. So I work at 3 or 4 different coffee shops in the area, and I usually do half a day either in the morning or the afternoon. Um, I got the coffee shops that I go to if I want to talk to people all morning. I got the coffee shops I go to if I need to like dig in and get some work
Yeah.
done. No one really bothers me where I am now, but there's this other coffee shop I've been going to for 15 years, and I know like there's like the before 9 a.m. crowd. We all just hang out and catch up, and that's good. But I can't walk in there if I got something to do.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think the biggest thing that I know this sounds silly, but the biggest thing I found from working from home, like when I first started, like I like I got a button down shirt on and shoes on, and I wouldn't be doing that from home. Like I have to get dressed for the day and act like I'm going to work. Otherwise, like working in the bathroom just doesn't work for me. I'll fall asleep.
I've heard that, and I think that's the times that we've had inclement weather or whatever, and I've worked from home. No, I try to get dressed and just
Yeah,
be right and try to keep my routine as much as the same as I can as I would be if I were in
yeah,
the office, just to stay productive, get that mindset right.
yeah,
And a lot of people they can't work remotely, like they just for you give
yeah.
them an
They have to have
opportunity and they just
personality.
yeah they can't handle the freedom and flexibility.
Mhm.
um no, and it's nice, like I know sometimes when you're in the dev meeting you're sitting outside on a nice day or whatever, like I'm a little bit jealous. I'm like, I wonder if
Yeah, I do that just to make you jealous. So
I mean
I'm glad that worked.
you should like it's good to hold things above over people's head, like hey look what I can do,
Right.
but
Yeah.
you can't because you're there.
Yeah.
um and then so how'd you end up at iThemes?
So uh, I met Corey first time when I was working. So after I made a couple websites, I moved from help desk to the web
Okay.
development team at that university. And Corey was in I can't remember. I think he was like head of like I don't know what department, but he was in charge of websites at another institution. And I had just transferred the president of our institution's personal website from some old technology, Cold Fusion, MS SQL to WordPress. And he called up school because he had known it just moved to WordPress and was asking questions, and they finally just forwarded him to me. And we hit it off really well, really quickly. And that was probably 2007, 2008, somewhere in there. So several years later, 2012, he called me up one day. I was working at NC State. It was a hour commute both ways. He's like, "Hey, you want a job?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not moving to Oklahoma City." He's like, "No, you can stay where you are. Send me the papers." And we had kept up. We had kept up over the years on Twitter and seeing each other at word camps and whatnot. So
That's interesting.
yeah. So he makes fun of me because I was the first remote employee at iThemes. So he says I'm spoiled. I kind of get to dictate the way things work for remote employees. So,
well, it's a good example. Like, I mean, that's what I like. That's what one of the things I do like about iThemes is like, there's not any micromanaging. Either you do your job or you don't. And
yeah,
you know, I remember when I first started working here, 3 people were fired. Like in my first like 4 months of working here, I was like, oh man, they're serious here. And then
yeah,
you find out these people just didn't do their job, and or for whatever reasons. I honestly wasn't privy to any of those conversations because I think I was still an intern for the most part.
yeah.
And
That's pretty much
yeah, and but then like no one's been fired since then. I
yeah,
was like, oh man, I gotta just fly straight.
yeah. Now
But
instead of firing them, he just talked people into quitting.
yeah, yeah.
No severance.
uh,
I'm just kidding, completely.
yes, yes. No, luckily our bosses aren't terrible like Glenn.
Yeah,
No, so that's what I like. So they treat you like an adult. So if you can't handle an adult job, it's just not for you.
right,
It's fine.
right.
So once you started at iThemes, like what was your first gig?
I started with pretty much just maintaining the little. There's a bunch of old plugins that iThemes have that do really little things. They're just kind of parts and bigger packages. We don't really sell them on their own. So I started just maintaining those, updating those. It's like
Boom bars, yours, right?
Huh? Boombar. Yep, Boombar was actually that I created from scratch. Yeah, that was the first one. That was actually because I was the first remote employee and they didn't know how to vet me and do all that. They asked me to create a plugin for them as part of the application process, and they did. They paid me for like as a contractor to do it. But yeah, so it's still out there somewhere. I
People
think
still use it. Man.
Hello Bar was like brand new at that point. Corey
Mm-hmm.
really liked the idea, so he wanted a WordPress version of that. So yeah, so we created that, and we iterated on that for a couple years, but now it's kind of just
Feature complete.
maintaining status quo. Yeah. So yeah,
No, it's good. It's like it really is good. We still use it, and then there's plenty
yeah,
of people that still
it's
use
on
it.
iThemes.com. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's so how long ago was that? So that plugin's been around for
That was 2012.
so like 7 years. That
Yeah,
plugin's just been like
it's
kicking
crazy.
it, and,
Yeah.
and it's good. Like
Yep.
no, I think it's like some of the stuff you and Chris, who's another developer here at iThemes, some of the stuff you guys have done was made so long ago, and like really
Yeah.
it's just maintaining. It was feature complete, and haven't really had to do anything to it.
No. Well, once or twice a year, we'll find a random bug or WordPress will change something. We'll have to update it.
Yeah, yeah. It's no, I just think that's impressive that like your guys' stuff can stand the test of time, where some people's stuff can't handle like a single update.
Yeah, my granddad always said even a blind squirrel will find an acorn every once in a while. So sometimes you get lucky.
So yeah. Well, I assumed it was luck, but like I didn't.
Yeah. No skill.
Yeah. So after that, when did you get put on like one of the, or like a bigger project? Was it Exchange? Was that the first one?
Yeah,
Or
Exchange. So Corey and Matt came to me. They really wanted to get into like the shopping cart business, and this was right about maybe a year after WooCommerce got created. So WooCommerce was like climbing really fast. So iThemes wanted to get in on that. So yeah, we created Exchange. We created it for our customer base to be like very simple to set up, simple to use. We didn't want a ton of bells and whistles, uh, cluttering up the screen and whatnot. And the idea was we just add a bunch of modules to it if people wanted more advanced stuff. So I worked on that for probably 3 or 6 months, and then that's when Corey's like, we need to get somebody else on this as well. He wanted to up the development resources, and that's when I knew Lou for years. So I suggested Lou. Lou came on board. Lou worked in Exchange with me for a long time. I don't know when I switched off. It might have been 2014, 2015, somewhere in there.
I think about 2015.
Yeah, I switched over to Backup Buddy for a while. I switched to Sync for a while. I went to Backup Buddy for a while. So now I'm back on. For a long time, I probably did more like research and development for Corey than anything else. Probably about an 8-month period there where and that was really fun because I was exploring a lot of cool new things. But it was really hard on me too because I wasn't like, I wasn't shipping anything, you know? Like, oh, that's really cool. We put like a bunch of proof of concept code in the corner and started something else. It was really fun, but I wasn't shipping anything. So I think I actually probably started to get a little bit down on that, and that's when he put me back on Sync, just because Sync's like the opposite of that. When it's a service as a software, so you can push to it all day if you want, and people don't have to update. So the life cycle for that's a lot faster.
So the researching part, the research and development, weren't you guys doing some like artificial AI stuff?
Yeah, we did AI stuff. Most of it was about computer learning and how can that work in WordPress, and how can you. We did a lot with like cookies and tracking people and what are they doing on your site, trying to turn that into things. We did some revenue models for iThemes, I worked with Kristen, just looking at our past sales over many years and trying to forecast what's coming up. All kinds of fun stuff. But and some of that stuff turned into things that we used. We actually used some of the sales stuff we did with Sales Accelerator later on. I don't know. And that was still when we had Exchange, so we were working some of that stuff, like abandoned carts. Part of that came out of that. So just different things like that. It was a lot of fun because I had a lot of one-on-one time with Corey, so I learned a lot from him. We didn't necessarily produce a lot, but I think that's kind of the point.
Well, yeah. So you personally, you were affected by that. You were actually like shipping.
Yeah, it was starting to get on me. I'm like, I felt like I was coming to the developer meeting every week, and worked on this week, but like everybody else is like, we pushed a new release to this, pushed a new release to that, and I think that just started wearing on me eventually because I like to create, and so it was fun on one level because I was creating a lot, but on another level,
which is because you weren't contributing.
Nowhere.
You weren't contributing, or did you just for you personally, you wanted to see something shipped out in the world?
Yeah. I felt like it was a lot of fun, but kind of have like the whole iThemes team over here working together and improving the company, improving our products and stuff. And then I was kind of just me and Corey over here. So probably working remotely plus then isolating my teams. I think that kind of just wore on me after a while. So
I was reading um, I think it was the inspired book I was reading last night, and it's about creating like inspired software. And it's talking about in the '80s he was working with at IBM with some machine learning and AI stuff. They made a bunch of really cool stuff, and it gave HP a huge, or it was Hewlett Packard, it gave HP a whole bunch of patents. But by the time
Okay.
to ship it, like no one wanted it. It didn't solve
Yeah.
any problems for anyone. So it's,
Yeah.
I never want to work that hard on something again, have no one use it. So that's
Yeah.
just why like that part of the
Yeah.
conversation, because reading that last night is just
Yeah.
you would think like you would, from my perspective, like doing the thought exercises of all that research and development would be endless entertainment. But
Yeah.
unless you're
There's a
actually
lot of
creating something, and like people aren't, if you never use what you're learning,
right.
then
Yeah, it was a lot of learning, but it was like learn and discard because
yeah.
we didn't create a product that I get to keep working on these skills. So
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. Learn and discard. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Um, so now you're working on the sync API, which sounds like to me from outside perspective, just hearing your guys' different meetings, sounds like it's um, kind of complicated and difficult to um, get all the working pieces working together. Can you add any clarity to that, since I just said random words and put them together in a kind of sentence?
yeah, well, we got acquired by Liquid Web last year about this time, February-ish, I think. And so they have a lot of products, hosting products that they wanted to integrate and sync. So we don't really have, or at that point, we didn't really have a outside API. So I spent a lot of the last year working with the managed WordPress teams at Liquid Web, creating a sync API. And so that was for a couple different projects that they're working on, as well as working it into a couple products or projects that they have open now. So it's just a lot of, like we're a 20 something person team and the
Mm-hmm.
developers are like, whatever, like 6 of us or so, so like integration with other people is pretty easy. It's a Slack conversation or a
Yeah,
video
yeah,
conversation. But then when you jump into an organization with 300 people trying to push a product out, it's a lot of meetings, a lot of misunderstandings between teams because you have infrastructure teams and design teams and development teams, and then you have all their leadership teams, and
mm-hmm.
then you have what we're doing. So just trying to make all those deadlines and goals seamless and work together well. Um, you realize that with a team that big, you can do a lot more, but it takes a long time to get there, a lot longer,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not just 1 or 2 developers. They're ahead of the computer working 8 hours a day. You got a lot of side periphery work going on, decisions being made. So I can't just decide to do something and do it. I got to make sure it works with everyone else.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I'm sure that is. I was having a conversation with Matt the other day, and it took me a while to pick up on this, but iThemes gives their employees a lot of authority to do things and just to do stuff, and which is abnormal. Like this is the first company I've worked for that's like that. And it took me a long time to pick up on like just do stuff, and they'll allow you to learn, and they'll pay you to do it, and
yeah,
so I imagine having moving to a 600 person company where that's just not feasible. You just
right.
you just can't do that. So I bet that is a challenge, getting used to balancing both cultures, because we're still
Right.
owned by Liquid Web and we're part of the Liquid Web team, but we're kind of off on a separate little island. So I bet balancing both is hard, because here's just
Yeah.
push, get it done, and there's wait a minute, hold your horses. Like
Yeah.
we have a lot of
It's
stuff you can break.
weird because we're interacting with them like a third party that they're integrating with.
Mm-hmm.
But if push comes to shove, they have control over how we interact with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a great learning process. I've loved it. I've met so many awesome people, and I've upped my game. I've found a lot of new technology and processes that I've never been exposed to before. And so that's learning, and it's not learning and discarding, it's learning and continuing to use. So that's exciting. So it's been a wonderful experience. It's just taken a little bit longer to do stuff, which is okay.
Yeah. No, as far as acquisitions go, this is probably the least dramatic acquisition I've ever heard of. So
Yeah.
it's been nice.
Yeah.
I had another question for you when you were talking, but now I can't remember. Oh, but you were responsible for the integrating the iThemes hosting stuff, weren't you? Or is that more Lou?
Yeah. Well, Lou did most of the setup, all of the Lou integrated it into Sync. What I did was a lot of
Fixing what he broke.
massaging of our. Yeah, that's generally how. I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah.
After years before iThemes, no, I did a lot of the massaging of like our plugins to work with the hosting platform that we were putting iThemes on. So there was a lot of there's a lot of setup that has to happen when you create a new account and whatnot. So Lou set up creating the account from Sync and interacting with the operations team to get that working. And I did a lot of work on let's make sure all of our products work on our hosting, because that's important. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot I'd done that. So.
You've done so much. No, I know you and Lou have been grinding really hard since the acquisition, getting all these different platforms to work together. So I imagine that some things might kind of slip through the cracks in your memory. And you're old, so that doesn't help. Yeah, you're not that much older than me, so I don't know why I keep making fun of you for being old.
It's funny though. Once I got the 40 last fall. I really like it. I thought I would hate it. I kind of like being old. I'm definitely gonna be like a get off my lawn kind of guy. Not too many years from now.
I'm like super lame. I'm like you, family, and I just work and I go home and I spend pretty much all of my time with my family, and I love it. Like I like going to bed early. I like waking up early. Like it's great. I'm having the most fun I've ever had in my life. So, perfect. So thinking about all your different projects that you've done throughout your development career, is there one that stands out to you as the one that you're most proud of? Is it your first experience with just solving that problem for everyone in philosophy?
That was exciting. I think probably the most satisfying is probably when you, as a developer, discover a problem that maybe even the product leads don't realize exists, and you find a way to fix it. And not just bugs, but like there were several months in Sync where like I realized that people just weren't using parts of Sync. And so I did, I pulled together some analytics and put together some ways to like kind of steer people towards some of those parts of Sync that we had put a lot of time into development, but nobody was using. And also, when you steer people there, it made the company a little bit more money. And Corey and Matt really gave me a lot of like good feedback on that, and let me loose for probably 2 or 3 months and just like see what else you can find and fix.
I think it was a little bit longer than that.
Was it?
I remember that time. Like I love Sync.
Yeah.
It's like I do a lot more work on the security project, but Sync's my favorite project. It's the one that I think has the most potential. It's the one that excites me the most.
Yeah.
So anytime you're working on Sync, I get excited about it because I remember you sharing all this data that was never shared with us before. And it like when you put in the effort to grab all that analytics, like I found it very interesting, and the fact that you were so forthcoming with it, even with the support team.
That was a lot of fun. And honestly, I think some of that, now that you're saying it, some of that's the long tail of R&D work I did with Corey, because I understood, he allowed me, a developer, to go to like a marketing conference with him one time years ago, like, because I was interested in that, and so I think, just the, I don't know, that's probably what I'm the most proud of, is when I have an idea or a feature for one of our products that doesn't come from Matt or Corey or someone up the stream, and it winds up making the company money or making the user experience way better. Like, that's what's exciting to me.
No, you do. Like, when I think about you, I think about someone who comes in and solves problems for me. Like, honestly, because client dashboard was a bane of my existence for the longest time, because it was so inconsistent and it conflicted with a lot of things, because I imagine it's quite complicated. But it's a really cool feature. And then after you came in, you fixed it, like, and made it such a better experience for our customers. Just existing feature that you came in and just spent the time in, figured out, which like, I was not told explicitly, but it was implied that, like, oh, it's that's as good as it's going to get. And then you came in, and that wasn't as good as it was going to get. So, so whenever you can start dictating your own schedule again,
Right.
I'm going to suggest you start working on sync again more full time.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
no, I love leaning in on you about specific problems, just because I know you'll fix them.
Yeah. I love seeing how long I can ignore you before, like, okay, I probably need to address that.
No, I get it.
It's that horrible analogy of change in the pocket, like, I make sure you're happy with me. If I feel like I'm kind of running low on clout with Michael, I go in and I fill it up real fast.
You could just accept a compliment, but
all right. Thank you very much.
So what, like, outside of iThemes right now is really fascinating you right now, and are you able to bring that into your work life to make anything that you're doing a little bit more interesting, or interesting for us?
I wonder how to answer that question. I think the current state of the world is fascinating to me right now. I think maybe some of this is being a little bit older. Probably a lot of my master's in divinity, but like the world is just chaos right now. It's like there's no hope in so much of it, And so a lot of what I try to do at iThemes is probably not code related. I enjoy the relationships. I enjoy getting to know what people are like, how people tick, and every once in a while have a serious conversation with someone. Hopefully when we get out of a dev meeting, there are many times when we go into a dev meeting and we leave and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I was the only one having fun in there and everybody hates me. But my hope
that's honestly never the case.
my hope is that when people have conversations with me, they walk away feeling encouraged. And a lot of that comes from just my worldview and looking at the current state of the world and realizing that we all need hope and we all need
encouragement. You and I are a little more class clowny than probably anyone else here. So when you're clowning around, at least I enjoy it. So
yeah.
Like, even if it's an audience of one, the audience is there. But I think, like, even Chris, who's like super serious a lot of the time, like, he laughs at your stuff. So
well, I guess that passes then. Yeah. I do feel bad every once in a while. It completely backfires. I'll say something that'll maybe not have been a great time because of factors.
I can't think of one thing in particular right now.
Yeah. Or like the other day, we were having just our developers huddle, and I feel like Timothy. This is a secret. I feel like Timothy probably hates me because so many times, like, I don't know if it's like clockwork. Like, so many times he'll be giving his update in our developers meeting, and I get distracted and I'm talking to someone and like I just feel like I'm rude to him a lot. And the other day, Gerald started texting me in the middle of our developer meeting. He was texting me about a problem one of our customers was having, and I was just laughing. I'm typing, I'm laughing at him, and Matt PMs me and he goes, "Please stop laughing," because Timothy's like giving his update, and I'm like laughing, and like every once in a while I have to stop and be like, "That wasn't a strong moment. That came back wrong." So I've certainly offended enough people here at iThemes, but I feel like I'm an equal opportunity offender. You know, like I offend everyone, and hopefully, if I've ever genuinely offended someone, I've apologized.
No, I have that problem. Like, I'm just kind of like a sarcastic, joking person. So there's two different. So I was having this conversation with Corey. And there's two different incidents where I gave people compliments, like sincere compliments, and they thought I was joking. I'm like, no. Like, I might need to reevaluate how I have conversations with people if I'm giving people legitimate praise, and they're like,
Right.
what are you up to?
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to share with us before we get out of here? Like, can you pick your favorite kid right now, and then we can show it to the rest of your family, just so they know what they need to raise their game?
Yeah. My definite favorite kid is probably because I really like them more than any of the others, and they look like me a lot. Yeah, I just like a lot more than the other ones.
It's good. I had one more question for you, but now I can't think of it. That's
well, they're all written right there.
well, no, it was a different one. It was one that came up during the conversation, but no, I have that one up on the screen over here. But anyways, thanks for
man,
chatting with us.
I appreciate it. I always like talking to you.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Yeah. So, oh yeah, I was gonna say, why don't you wear a costume here? Glenn's famous for wearing costumes to meetings.
Well, I usually that's when I can like pull over. Like when I work at home, I'm usually by my desk, and I've always got kids paraphernalia everywhere, so it's easy just to like reach over and pull like a Hulk mask or a helmet.
Sailor was she's like, so is he gonna wear a costume? I was like,
you're giving me a heads up. I didn't even have a fun undershirt on today.
Yeah. No, it's I honestly do think it's important to keep conversations light and meetings light, and realize like what we're doing, like we take it seriously, but we don't always have to be serious.
Right.
Yeah. It makes everything more tolerable, and reduces the amount of friction. So thank you for bringing that levity to iThemes, which a lot of times we do need. And just thanks for chatting with us and sharing your story a little bit. And bye.
Talk to you later.
See ya. I'm really good at closing these things out.